Well, hey, everybody, my apologies. I ran a little bit late here, so my apologies for that. In tight work and election and all that kind of stuff. So anybody's in, started, we haven't officially started, but if anyone's in Carmichael, Fair Oaks, or Citrus Heights, I'm on your school area. If you see me, if you're out there, look me up, doing good in the neighborhood. Here. Practical capacity innovations. But now, officially, we'll start the meeting at 3:42. Didn't want that in the record. But we have some new folks that are here, and we're going to just kind of go through the agenda, do the call to order, roll call, guest introductions. But I would like to, with Monica, and then there was one other person that I think I may have seen on the list that's not here, that said they were coming. Wasn't there another new person that's was there another individual when I was looking at the agenda that may be a new committee member? Is there a new one?
Jeff Bell was one of them. In
Okay.
addition to one. That's it.
He's not here, though.
No, it was on an agenda one.
Is he there? Okay, all right. I knew there was another additional person. So anyway, call the meeting to order. So if we could do the roll call, and then we'll do our guest introductions, and also we will add new members. When you roll.
Casey, do you roll? Yes. Jennifer Avalon. Here. Annette Bensford. Here. Amanda Benson. Patrick Hunter.
Here.
Patrice Pratt. Here. Martin Ross.
Here.
Paula Thomas Nelson.
Present.
Rosa Vega.
So we have you have 7 members that should make six to be present. Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay. We'll check. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. So let's go ahead and do our introductions. I'm going to go with our new EEOAC member first, and then we'll have our other guests. But you're on the committee and you're the newest, so you could introduce yourself, maybe a little bit about yourself, and what area you've been from, whatever you'd like. What compels you to be interested in this committee?
For sure.
Mhm.
So, my name is Monica Mejia, and, I've been in Sacramento for about 7 years, just finished my master's in IO psychology. And I love HR and things that help the employee.
You said IO psychology?
IO, industrial organizational psychology,
Okay.
basically the psychology of the workplace. And what led me here is I want to support my community in any way I can, and, that means me being able to have a voice in this space to make county workers feel heard and what they want to do. If anything, just care about making it fair. So
And are you from a county employee or are you from a citizen
I'm a citizen.
representative? What,
Yes.
what supervisor? County or city?
Bill,
Co-servant?
and I work for California Indian Legal Services. I'm the HR and admin coordinator there, so. We're on the board behind that.
Well, welcome. All right, all right. Okay, well, let's go. I don't think we have any other new members. But welcome. Let's go through our other guests that we shook hands with. So,
Okay, I'll get into a little more introduction and background about myself. I'm Stephanie Jackson. I'm the Chief DEI Officer for the County of Sacramento. And I brought my friends with me from the DEI cabinet.
let's work friends, but she got us in.
My name work. My name's Allison King. I sit on the DEI cabinet. The chair of the most people.
My name is Mark Slaughter. I'm also on the DEI cabinet, and I currently work with Sacramento County Public Defender.
Now, I'm just a citizen. I don't work for the county. So tell me what do you mean by the DEI cabinet? And what do you, I know what positions you come from. Does everyone come from a county staff position to be a cabinet member?
Yes,
Okay, can you elaborate on that?
absolutely.
Can we get into just, I want to do a presentation, so you know.
Are you gonna talk about that?
Yeah,
Okay, because we don't know. Okay,
yeah,
some of these.
that's like,
I know.
Some of it.
Yeah, yes. Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else you want to elaborate on as committee members and as the DEI?
can we get an introduction to a super member?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, we'll start off with Paula on the screen.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Say that again, honey.
Oh, they wanted to, I forgot, I skipped. I just introduced our new member, but we should probably just did the roll call. They wanted to have, which is proper, an introduction from the other members. So we'll start with you, Paula, since you're on the screen.
Okay, so I'm just a citizen member, and I joined before I moved to the Bay Area. I'm there now. It's like, it looks like this in the back, even though this is not the background right now, but it's looking like this out here, okay? And yeah, so I'm just happy to be here, and I got 2 more meetings, so I wanted to make sure I finished my term. I didn't want to stop coming, so I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Have you moved to the Bay Area?
Yes, I am in the Bay Area. That's why I said the background, I know it's one of those, you pick them, but it looks like this today. Yes, the weather's like this, and yeah, I'm here. Remember I told you I was moving? I'm here. So I'll be here through the end of my term. I'm sorry?
No, I missed that. I may have been one of the meetings I was on. I didn't know you had moved. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
no, I've only been here a week. I just got here. So this is like my first meeting here. My last meeting, I was in Sacramento, but I was packing, so I couldn't make it, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But I know I Zoomed it. I was on Zoom, but I wasn't there in person. So I'm glad I can hear everything. And I felt like I got cut off early last time. So I just logged out. So I'm hearing everything really good. So that's good. You guys are really small, but that's okay. I guess you can see me. So that's the important thing.
Yeah, we can see you well. Thank you. Okay,
thanks.
let's move to Patrick.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrick Hunter. I'm a county employee and a citizen of the city, represented by, I believe, Patrick Kennedy. Haven area. I've been with the county of Sacramento for 24 years, been in social services for 30 years. I know I don't look that old. I don't feel it either, but I was appointed by UPE multiple times, I believe. Over the course of about 13 years, I've been on this periodically, and just recently elected 8 more. So I'm passionate about a lot of things. This is one of them.
Thank you, Patrick. Would you please clarify what UPE means for?
When I'm a public employee, it's a favor.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, appreciate that. Well, there may be some. So, yeah, thank you. Jim.
Jennifer, I'm representing UPE also. Been on the board before, a while back for 7.5 years, then I took a break hiatus. And back serving,
Thank
and
you.
I'm work for the department, even assistant all the time.
Thank you, Jennifer. Annette?
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Spencer. I'm the director for Sacramento County Animal Care.
Have you been done?
Thank you. Out of my under.
Well, everybody else is busy. And how long you been in the county?
I have 35 years in government service. I've been with Sacramento County 3 years.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great. See, that was trivia. You didn't prep. All right, Patricia.
My name is Patrice Pratt. I'm a senior probation officer with Sac County Probation. I'm here representing our union, and I've been with the county for March to be 19 years.
My name is Martin Ross, and I am a citizen. I'm representing with the county of Sacramento, a citizen of the county of Sacramento, representing District 3, which would be Supervisor Rich Desmond's area. I am a Deputy Director for the Health Education Council for Social Affairs Partnerships and Workforce Development. I'm on the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency with the Commissioner and also Carmichael Parkland, where I spend a lot of time on subject of equity outreach and social determinants of health drivers to help making sure that people have access and those who want to get there, you know, don't or struggling, get amendment. Maybe before you turn it over to the office.
Hi, I'm Corey Stilson. I'm the EEO officer, so I'm part of personnel services. I'm obviously a county employee.
Cindy Steve Gonzalez, Personnel Services Division Chief of Employee Relations, including.
I should start it off with you, sorry.
That's all right. She's the EEO officer.
Yeah.
Can you switch it on if I go back to see, stop with the.
Hi, Christina Myers. I am also staffed with the EEO office at DPS.
All right, well, thank you so much.
One real quick, by the way, the people on the set who are saying we're staff for the committee, we're not actually members, so it's like their members were county supports them. Thank you. There's a little bit of the way it's set up.
With our charter, how does the support get 4 members and it's barely 6 members of the actual community? I don't think our charter is like almost sweet.
Well, my position is I will accept as much support as possible. Well, here is we have, I believe, 13 seats, correct? Was it 13 seats? And all of them aren't filled yet. So we appreciate you, Monica, coming on board. So I think we're up to now, let's see, was few absent? Maybe we're up to what, 9, 10? How many?
I believe there are 11, but there are 15 seats.
15 seats. Okay, I'm incorrect. 15. We will consider approval of the absences. Can I have a motion to approve? Okay, is there a second? Okay, Patrice seconds it. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll just, in this case, to move a little faster, I'll do any opposed? All those in favor say aye. Okay, aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention, Patrick. Patrick, okay, motion carries. Okay. Any public? Okay, we have approval of our minutes. Look at the minutes. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at them? Second page. Right. And then everyone have sufficient time to take a look at them? If so, can I have a motion to approve, please? Okay, first by Patrice, Jennifer second. Any discussion, any changes, amendments to it? Okay, all those in favor, by saying aye? Aye, okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think that was from Paul. Any opposed? And abstentions? One abstention, Patrick. Motion carries. Okay. All right. Do we have any public comments? Any other, Casey, are there any notices of public comments? Online? No, present. No notice of public comment. Okay. We'll move forward. All right, well, thank you. We're moving on to item number 5 for our guest speakers. So I want to turn it over to you, Stephanie, and your team.
All right, thank you. So I thought I would just present what the Office of DEI is and what the why is and what next steps are and what the purpose of the office is for. So I'm Stephanie. I've had just a little bit about me, my background. I've had over 20 years experience in HR, PPO, affirmative action. I've been a senior level business partner. I've worked for 3 Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1 company. And my most recent transition was from Gap Inc. as the head of business partners. And so this role is something that I'm passionate about as well. And so coming into this role, I understand that the County of Sacramento, so in 2020, we know there was a lot going on in 2020, right? We were in the midst of a global pandemic. We had a economic downturn. We were in a really hostile, volatile political climate, much like we are today. And then on top of that, we had the murder of George Floyd that served as a catalyst, I would say, for racial reckoning in society across the world, actually. And so on November 17th of 2020, the Board of Supervisors declared racism a health crisis. And that was where my work began, or where this office came in play. So I want to set the stage, though, because when you think about racism being a health crisis, it's about the stress that comes from experiencing and witnessing racism, anxiety, depression. Those are some of the symptoms, even physical symptoms like headaches and increased heart rate, sweating, trembling, muscle tension. Those things present themselves when people experience racism and discrimination, even if they do. So I say that to say we witnessed that on a world stage when we saw it on TV. And then based on data from the Center of Disease Control, we know that racial and ethnic minority populations experience higher rates of poor health conditions like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, asthma, heart disease. And so when you add that in, it exacerbates those conditions. And so structural racism and ethnic discrimination contributes to poor health conditions and the negative effects of that. And that is why the Board of Supervisors said we have a problem. Our purpose is to enrich communities to thrive. And if we know that communities in the county of Sacramento are surviving and not thriving, that should be imperative upon us to try to do something about it. And so because of that, the DEI cabinet was established. The DEI cabinet was established in 2023. And that purpose for the DEI cabinet is to promote strategic coordination, cooperation and collaboration, addressing racism and health inequities affecting our entire community. So our objective for the DEI cabinet is to create awareness through education, because much of our county, the folks who support our residents work for the county. So first, we want to make sure that we have awareness within the county, right? That we educate. But then we also want to enable our county employees and community to take action to advance equity, and also center racial equity to empower allyship and advocacy in policy programs and services. So that's across, it could be even as in families, shelters, and support, right? It depends on what social determinants we might touch. And so I wanted to share also that our mission as a DEI cabinet, and let me just back up a little bit. The DEI cabinet, well, I'll talk about the mission first. The mission is to engage the workforce and the community on topics of equity and inclusion, apply an equity lens to the day-to-day operations of the county, and identify and eliminate barriers to access and engagement that have prevented our BIPOC communities, LGBT plus, LGBTQIA plus, people with disabilities, and any marginalized communities with full participation in equitable outcomes. So when you look at this, it's really shared a look at in 2022, before the DEI cabinet became a 23-member cabinet, there was a core team that worked with a outside firm that did an assessment of the county. So a comprehensive DEI organizational assessment was done. It was conducted by NGT Consulting to include policy analysis, demographic analysis, and then employee engagement. Would you say MGT? MGT, yes. And that information is on the county website, on the diversity equity. It's actually the assessment is out there on the county website. And so that was done with those analysis. And what they did was looked at what are some of the determinants that we have disproportionate outcomes within. Now, in the United States, we know that disproportionate outcomes with race being a prevailing factor in predictive success. That's across income, across wealth creation, education, jobs, the justice system, housing, home ownership, access to quality care and behavioral health care, health conditioning, and environment. But when you zoom in to the county, some of those prevailing factors are life expectancy, chronic disease, maternal child health, mortality, the CPS allegation rate, kid placement and adoption rate, juvenile bookings, room confinement, probation, and employees' inclusion experience at work. And so what you can take from this is that those social determinants are not just workplace related. These are across healthcare, quality care, and also our justice system. So there's a larger focus with the work that we do. So in order to make this all, this strategy come together, we put it into 3 pillars. And those pillars are our focus on our employees, our community, and then at the foundation of it is policy, program, and service delivery. Now that's a lot of text that you see on the on the screen. But what the main thing is from a county employee perspective, we want to make sure that we're building inclusive leadership capabilities because we can't pour from an empty cup. If our leaders are not able to be inclusive and understand implicit bias, how to work through those things, that then they may not be able to service our residents.
Should we go by questions? Or can we interject?
You know, we can have a conversation. Interject.
You did. And I would prefer you do as the chair. I would prefer.
All right, then.
Yeah, right. I would prefer. I want to see I would like us to see your whole presentation.
Okay.
And I'm sure we all have a lot of questions.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
So these 3 pillars, we want to build inclusive leadership capabilities. We want to create a culture of belonging. And in the county, there's some work that's happening with our Culture Shift Coalition. It's not just this department, but happening across our county. But the Office of DEI is going to be a partnering network as well, an advisory consultative partner network, but also to developing strategic talent priorities to attract, retain, and develop talent. When you think about that, this is all from a transforming system. So it's not down in the weeds day to day. It's more of a systems approach across. So from a community perspective, we want to create a community racial equity committee because we want to hear from our community. We want the community to inform the strategies that we put into place. We can't solve for the community without the community at the table. And then from a policy program and service delivery standpoint, that's more around deploying those studies, surveys, and assessments to understand and evaluate our current policies, programs and service delivery so that we know how to embed DEI or where the inequities lie, and how do we tell our story around those things. And then I talked about the values work or the culture shift coalition. That's the values that the county has just rolled out recently.
Did you go back on the last one? I'm sorry. So the third clue is community, and then the second, what's the third one?
Policy program and service delivery. So, this is the bridge, county. The Sacramento bridge. So one is the county, employees, the other is community, and then, and the base is policy program and service delivery, because that's how you sustain change with policy program and service delivery. And so how do you implement such a huge, task or a huge initiative where you have to have the core values where everybody's led by the same values? And so the county has, rolled out core values, the pride values, principle, respect, innovation, diversity, and inclusion and excellence. And so as part of that framework, I try to make sure that we lead that through that lens. We're working on initiatives and writing different, we're looking at policies through a DEI lens, and we also are incorporating our values. So what's my role? I'm a team of one. So my role is to be the architect of the framework and strategy to empower and activate our workforce, to advance equity and lift our most vulnerable communities from surviving to thriving. And that is basically as a consultative role and advisory. Also, I champion and chair the DEI cabinet in programs, initiatives, and directives that come out of that work. And thirdly, my role is to cultivate a culture of belonging and create the conditions for diversity, equity, and inclusion to be embedded in the day-to-day operations of the county. So our cabinet membership, we have 15 static departments, meaning that they won't change. These departments will be represented on the DEI cabinet. And then we have 8 two-year term positions that are seated by employees across the county. The criteria is lined out here, but these are by county executive appointment. So these are appointed positions, the term positions.
Thank you.
This is on my website too.
There's just things that have come up where I'm kind of taking to sure others will mention, but there's. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so the DEI cabinet, what are we supposed to be doing as a DEI cabinet? So internally implementing equity in the day-to-day. Implementing equity in the day-to-day operations, placing that DEI lens on the policy, procedures, and practices from an internal standpoint. Measuring progress, enhancing diverse representation across the county workforce, especially in the executive level leadership and management positions. So we know that we have great representation across at our entry level staff level positions, but as we get higher up in the organization, that we have some opportunities to have more greater diversity, just more reflective of our community. And then also cultivate a cultural competency and cultural competency and create a culture of belonging. But on the outside, that's not the only work that we do outside of the work of the county. We are also prioritizing our investment in distribution of resources to BIPOC communities. So that's something that we want to make sure is prioritized. We want to engage in power sharing and coalition building to identify and implement strategic interventions and solutions to mitigate and eliminate negative health outcomes. So again, that goes back to racism being a health crisis and how do we address some of those that you see. And then also leverage and build upon best practices used in other jurisdictions. So, the County of Sacramento joined the GARE, which is the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. That is a government jurisdiction. It is a organization that has over 100 governmental jurisdictions that are members across the United States. So it's not just the County of Sacramento, but there's a conglomerate of jurisdictions that want to do this work and are engaged in this work at different levels. And then we also want to establish an ongoing community county feedback loop and powerful storytelling. There's some good things happening. I think if you all are with DHA and social services, were you at the DHA fall?
So,
Summit?
yes.
So
I grew up there speaking.
yes, yes. So even looking at some of the work that you all are doing in the community, it's outstanding. And so this is what we want to see across the departments and all of across the county, every department signing up for advancing equity and developing their own racial equity toolkits and action plans. So what have we been doing since the Office of DEI has been stood up? We adopted our bylaws, obviously. We have a chair and a vice chair. We have joined GEAR, I just mentioned. We've embedded DEI and inclusive and value-based language in 10 of our DPS policies, Department of Personnel Services. We've embedded DEI in hiring process class training and supervisors skills power training. So there's going to be a microaggressions training that has been embedded into the supervisor power skills training. That is a mandatory training for all supervisors. And so when supervisors start to take that training, they will receive that microaggression training. Also, we have a website now, so we have a presence for folks who are and what work is about. As an office, part of my role is to provide that executive coaching and DEI intervention strategies to our department leaders and executives to help them build inclusive leadership capabilities. So I can't work with each employee, but I can work with the leader or the department leader. And so that's how I help to make change across the organization. And then embedding DEI questions in the exit interview. So people leave us, right? And we don't know why. Sometimes we don't lie, and some of the reasons are very vague. So I've worked with the team to Mindy and I and her team. We worked together to build out the exit interview so we can get more information and understand, was it did you feel like people were when you were here? Or what was the reason why you were? So we can start to analyze those things and build intervention strategies so that we can be longer. And then we created an EEO and diversity statement that reflects the county's values and commitment to DEI. So now when people receive hiring collateral at our hiring events, or they go on our website, they see that this is what the county stands for. You don't have to assume, we say it emphatically. And what's next? So I talked about the microaggressions training. This is one of the things that countywide DEI training. So harmful workplace behavior, unconscious bias, and microaggressions. That's the training that has been embedded in the power skills training for supervisors and managers, but it's also available to every employee in the county and it's available on my learning. We are now in the process of developing some DEI metrics so we can inspect what we expect, right? We want to look at turnover, promotion data by gender, generation. We have 4 generations working in the workforce now. We've got our Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, baby boomers. So there are differing needs and different ways in which they want to be engaged. So in order to understand that, we want to look at the data in that way as well. We also look at it by class, department, ethnicity, and tenure. And we are starting to look at that by sense of belonging. It's very new. The data has not, we're still building the dashboard, but that's one of the things we're going to start to look at. What are the top 3 reasons why people leave us? And then what is the sense of belonging? Can we gauge that? If people feel seen, heard, valued, that they have opportunities here, we can feel pretty. And then the GEAR rollout, we want to make that DARE platform, that is a platform where our department heads and DARE practitioners can use that platform as a resource and talk to other people within other jurisdictions that are doing this work. There are racial equity tools out there. There are trainings out there. And so this is more of an education and competency building tool as well as healthy to provide resources for our employees and our leadership. And then we are working on a Thrive Summit and Community Engagement Fair. That is going to happen August the 18th, 2025 at Sac State. We are going to talk about what the Office of DEI is all about. We're going to have guest speakers. We're going to have a learning opportunity for the community, but then we're also going to bring together many of our community-based organizations so that they can also network and leverage each other's strengths. And then finally, we want to establish, as I alluded to before, a community racial equity committee so we can amplify community voice and inform our decision making. So I've done a lot of talking. I'll be there.
So what I wanted to do real quick before we go into questions is kind of recap a few questions and concerns that have come up. But you all, I don't necessarily want you to respond to them just yet.
Yeah.
I want to make sure everybody has a voice here, and then I'll come back to mine after the end.
Okay.
But one of the first things that I wanted to mention is, you know, Sac County, when you mentioned social determinants, with my work, I follow social determinants of health, drivers of health, I think we're the same. So those are very important. That's approaching situations from a holistic viewpoint, people of faith, I call it mind, body, and spirit. But I think if we say racism and we look at it from a public health perspective, those things you mentioned have a huge impact, but I think it also causes death for people, or stroke, or other kinds of elements that come that debilitate them, that do not allow them to function well. So according to what I'm understanding, there's a 15% vacancy within the county. And when we're talking about community involvement with respect to employment, we've talked quite a bit about access and outreach and recruitment. And so what I mentioned in the last meeting here, there's a lot of nonprofits, major organizations. I have one that's a major one, Health Education Council. There's many others that can help with that outreach. And what my question is really not question, but statement is where the barriers come is what's happening after 5 o'clock. You know what that means? There's a lot of outreach, people who do not have access. And what we've been hearing from a lot of the departments and so forth, they'll post on websites, they'll do all those types of things. But when we're looking at diversity, we're not really getting to where the people live, where they work, where they play with friends. So you won't solve the issue if our anchor institutions stop at 5 o'clock with respect to the recruitment to be able to bring the diversity in. So the meeting that can help with that. One of my next questions along with that is on appointments. Not questions, but it's been brought up that, and you mentioned it yourself, and this is not an attack, so hopefully you don't hear, I'm just moving fast. It's not a tone in the voice. I'm just trying to move fast, make sure. But what, if it's appointed, what I've heard written down, we talked about community and citizens. Well, are citizens appointed? Are union people appointed? Are rank and file individuals appointed? Are people from the EEOAC committee who actually look at the statistics from the county? I would think that we should have some representation from this committee, which is made up of citizens and staff on that committee. That was brought up. Is that the case? I don't think any of us are on that committee. But we are yet reviewing the stats of the county and making recommendations. So these are the 4 categories that I'm mentioning there. Some of the other ones that I wanted to mention is how much buy-in are you getting from the leadership? As you're one staff, you're trying to talk to advisors and or directors of departments. They have to buy into it. What are the consequences that come in if they do not buy into it? Since it's been declared a health crisis. Others how do our decision makers influence? Are we getting any pushback, microaggression, and I like that idea of embedded in the interviews. But here's another one. I want to let the committee know that I'm going to yield on this, but there was, and we could probably remove it from the agenda at some point, but I was thinking about an award to give various departments that were performing well. I talked with the county supervisor, but I was thinking of it as the top 10 of those that have been 5 that are performing very highly. Maybe there's a way to do it. If we could get a formal way of evaluating who's doing well, taking those best practices and letting other departments know about it, and then those that are improving the most improved. So the top 5 and the most improved. But I'm a little bit hesitant on that because I have been, and you mentioned it yourself, I have now been talking to more and more county employees, and I'm seeing and hearing at some of the highest levels that there are serious systematic and corroborated barriers, even at the administration level, for forward movement of folks of color. And I've seen several leave, and they're saying, I'm gonna go work for the state, I'm gonna go work for whatever's being dealt with. And as I'm hearing them, I'm also saying I've heard of people filing with the EEOAC. I heard of one complaint coming. I've heard of other people calling higher levels. I have dealt with it in some of my organizations, and I'm going to give you an example. This is where my concern comes from. It's a Salvation Army officer for 20 years at the major level. And when my dad warned me about it, he said, son, you're going to run into a glass ceiling. He said, you ought to stop calling it glass ceiling. It's called racism. But he said, you're going to run into, I mean, he's from, the 60s generation as an adult, decorated Air Force person and so forth. So I said, well, Dad, this generation, when I'm coming, at least it's going to be different. I know it's going to be different. Then hits George Floyd. Hence, I was seated in my own organization, not one person of color hardly at any higher levels. And I'm asking around at the higher levels, and I'm saying, well, how many folks of color in your at management, higher levels of management, how many are there? There's not many. And some of the ones that are getting there are leaving. And some of the issues, when my other concern has to do with DEI in itself, there's DEI pushback, and there's also people when we deal with DEI in general. And that's why I'm saying we're looking at your all statistics at the county, and we have our own suggestions. And I'm emphasizing this is I really want you to take a look at that representation. This has union, citizens, other people that are actually studying it. We have information that we can share that I think is important. But what usually typically happens, and I hope, Stephanie, you do well, and then I hope you stay. But most of the time, because it's usually in all corporations and so forth, that happens is one person trying to be the voice of preaching, maybe not really to the choir, and there's pushback. And then after a while, we're just a bunch of talking heads. We're just talking and just talking. And after a while, nothing really changes. I really like what you showed, but nothing changes. And then people just get fatigued, and folks like yourself leave because they said they don't want to change. That's what's happening in corporate America. That's what's happening in many of the faith communities and so forth. We talked. Dr. King mentioned it. Everybody else mentioned it. And now we're here and we're like, you know what? We're just going to move into our own little circle because you all don't want to hear it. So those are the comments that I think I've helped summarize of concerns that we've talked about. We're seeing some movement, but we have concerns. And I don't know if you're looking at the same stats we're looking at, but if we're looking at the same statistics, then I think this committee has, from the union perspective, and others have some very serious voices and concerns that need to be incorporated. And we have deference, because we talked about it when it was appointed. And if it's supposed to be inclusive, then our recommendation from this committee, on record, please, is that it really is inclusive. And so we should consider these rank and file individuals. And I'm going to pause, but that's what I've heard, because we've been meeting for a year. And sometimes we don't even get to our statistics, so there's been huge frustration Because we're like, why are we looking at the stats? Do we want to just, you know, be, what do you call it? Yes persons and just push it through and say this is lovely? That's not what we're here for. We're here to bring about comments and concerns. And those are some of the concerns. Help me out if I'm wrong, but I'll turn it over. Those are my comments. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So, appreciate it. Take some. Where does inclusion start? It starts once you build up a cabinet or foundation. Now, I will say this, January 2023, I asked for the CEO to show up in this meeting before anything gets established to understand what you're presenting today, what you guys are presenting today. I'm not trying to, because you were here. So he asked for the CEO because they had the ideas. They already did the consulting part to show up so we can maybe have some input that we're having today over 18 months later. And so that alone, from one person's perspective, is wrong. That is disingenuous because, again, this is how the county has operated over my 24 years. When I started in 2000, I know people who started in the 70s told me the same thing. And they told me not to trust the county of Sacramento. Okay? And so me coming from Compton, California, the 70s and 80s, going to UC Davis, and the glass ceiling is real. Because the Civil Rights Act of 1964 gave us some equality and gave us some chances, but institutional racism is deeper than 2020, I think, right? Yeah. It's deeper than that. So when someone says, hey, we got these ideas that racism is a public health crisis, great. But let's start from foundation. And what does conclusion really mean? Conclusion is not once you get it established. It's because the very people, some of the very people on your cabinet are a part of the problem because they benefited from racism. Because why not just have those people tell us how did they rise up through the ranks? And we won't even need a committee. And these decision makers who are affecting our lives and my kids' lives and my kids' kids' lives have been handed the baton because, like Ross said, Mr. Martin said, those people are appointed. So if you're appointed, I'm going to appoint somebody who's going to carry out my interests, who's going to be the face, whether it's a token, whether it's, you know, all the demographics. But the bottom line is institutional racism in America. It's always been one face. And it's not the people of color. It's not the demographics that are going to be represented. Because at the end of the day, and I can tell you, if this EEO office for the county can lie to the feds, they'll lie to you, they'll lie to you, they'll lie to me. So why would DHA spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to say how great you guys are instead of just doing it right? They wouldn't need that type of event if they treat people right. Like our director straight said, I'm gonna read this. Far too many individuals appear to be untouchable. I want a visual showing. I want him removed. I want them removed. He thinks he's untouchable. Okay? And these people are on your cabinet. See? And if you can hand out a baton or hand down a baton, you think these people, what is the incentive for people to change? What's the incentive? Because we could just say, you've been like that, you must be like that. You guys all must be like that. We know what stereotypes are. Okay? So I appreciate this, but it's disingenuous when we passed January 11th, 2023, for the CEO to come in and talk about it before it gets established. And people in this office, like all the support, because it used to be one support, two, now it's four. I don't know why it never got to the CEO and then she retired. So, again, no one's going to break these barriers overnight, not in 4 years, I agree. But The problems are not just the presentations. The problems are sometimes the people in the room. They're gonna tell you what you want, what you might think is good. I know well, and we represent people who do for the people who live in the community, and we're part of the community. So when Patrick Kennedy and all the other board of supervisors who would knock on my door on a Sunday for my vote, and when I would tell them, oh, you know what? I work for you as well. My kids grew up in this community as well. So I had to go deep down to talk to my kids to get their brains as strong as possible to deal with this nonsense. Because my great grandmother was born in 1899. She told me I was going to get to a day like this. So she told me to read it. She said, you're going to need it when you're 50. She wasn't looking. So all the hoopla and the free food and that, those people are the problem. Because I've asked, what's the incentive to change? And how are we supposed to trust you when you benefited from discrimination, retaliation, failure to promote? How can we trust you? Because if you rose up through the ranks, like every time you were for a promotion, you were successful, and now you get to tell what my demographics was best for me. You never raised any African American kids. You never, but you telling me what's best for me? Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Thank you, Patrick. The next,
Thank you for coming today. I'm waiting for this presentation. So
that's,
I'm sorry I was delayed, but I'm very excited that you're here. One of my questions were, and I don't know if you got the answer, but at the very beginning of the presentation, you mentioned that County Sacramento declared racism. Do we know, is Sacramento County the only county in California that's done that? Were we the lead on that, or was it something that was an afterthought? I was just curious.
a lot of counties.
Was there other counties?
There's a lot throughout the whole country. It's a lot, and
I don't know just timing of when they did it. A lot of it centered around Georgia.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Sacramento County.
Bodies.
I'm just wondering if that was the California County, other counties that already done that, but LA County comes to mind, but I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that actually. But there has been articles written on, there were many jurisdictions that came out in 2020.
Yeah,
Now, who was doing the work before then? It probably wasn't, they weren't calling it racial equity, or they weren't saying this is.
there was a name tag, so probably.
Right, they were doing the diversity and inclusion. They started to be popular around justice. It's been this work has been done a long time. Racial equity, justice work, it's been out there for a long time, but I don't think jurisdictions started coming forward saying, hey, this is a health crisis, until probably most year-round.
They did try with their first attorney searching just platform of childhood experiences, pieces, how those experiences could lead to some of the same health crisis, death, found out. So we hadn't heard anything else. And that predated COVID, that predated George Floyd. But there was that attempt to look at it from a systemic level, as opposed to, hey, let's just talk about it.
And it also makes me think about the Black Child Legacy program that came out of the county of Sacramento, well, social services. That is also an initiative to address the child mortality rate. That was well before George Floyd.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm saying that a lot of jurisdictions were doing the work. They just might not have been calling it out like that.
or giving them current.
My other question. But there was another slide that was up there earlier, talking about the cabinet makeup.
Oh, yeah.
And on one side of the cabinet makeup was on the left-hand side. There it is. Down right there. So it said 15 static department heads. So I'm a department head, so when I read that, that tells me that I'm not eligible to be a member of the DEI cabinet. Is that what that means? Or is it, I mean, when it says static, right, my eyes are old, you can't see that far. But 15 static department heads, that means it has to be the department heads who represent those departments. Is that correct?
Yes, because those are the departments that touch those determinants.
Okay, well then, I want to say, because I always have to be that voice, and I like that you mentioned earlier about animals, because I am that voice when it comes to animals. We touch humans.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the platform I stand on, and I want people to understand. I mean, to animals here in this county are like family members to people, most people. And I'm not judging, you may just have a fluffy dog in your backyard, and that's okay, but for the majority of people, animals are family, and they are treated like family, and they're humans. We touch humans. So I'm always trying to get us that angle in there, right? I mean, we're having these conversations because I'm glad you mentioned that earlier, because I didn't think, animal services doesn't touch DEI. It does. We're having those conversations in animal welfare. We're just not quite sure how to do it or make sense of it to get it out there, but just to show that animals love anybody and everybody, right? There's no judgments. And how do you get that out there to say, hey, come and talk from us because we want you to have that experience. Just having those conversations. We don't have the answers of how to touch different backgrounds and neighborhoods other than here we are, here's this building, and here we are wanting you to adopt. But I think it would be really helpful. Again, I'm glad that you are here today because the more information we have on this topic, it's just so helpful and informative. It would be really interesting if you were on your one. I know it's a big task. It really is. I'm glad that you do have these two individuals. I've seen them after that talking. How do we communicate that on a regular basis? And like, I'm probably one of the offenders of the department head meetings because they always ask ahead of time what agenda items do you want, and I always have agenda items. But it would be really nice if there was an agenda item talking about good things that are going on out there.
In your department meetings.
And the department head meetings,
The department.
which is the majority of your cabinet, it looks like right there. It'd be really interesting to share some of those details, I think, or just stories. Because I learned from other people's stories or experiences.
I understand in January is probably when they'll
It's
be.
when you're coming to visit.
Mhm.
So just to follow up on Annette's question about animal welfare and inclusivity into this whole process, we do have a sub-cabinet that we're going to form for community. So we do want community voice involvement. We want to add them in. That might be where you come in. This community voice cabinet, and we're working with a specialist to help us figure out how to reach out. So this is good to hear this, that you are interested. But that could be an arm coming in through community with this subcommittee that talks about, hey, can we include environment? Can we include different areas that's actually relevant to the community?
Right.
Right.
It is, we are relevant.
Can I? What were you gonna say?
Well, okay, what I'm gonna, at the end, and we're close, but at the end, I'm going to suggest that we're gonna craft a letter from this committee to the DEI. And I want you to go back, if you could, to those. I have some concerns. I like that, but where's, on the other right-hand column, for those department.
The.
Are you on the right hand side?
Yes,
Okay, so is that good, is that considered the rotation?
yes.
So would that include Annette or other people from the animal services or what, how are they getting, could
Yeah,
you?
what's the difference, I
Yeah,
guess?
because so I'll just think, I have a little bit of concern about a subcommittee. Is because that subcommittee, if it's made up of the citizens, because our main concern was, I remember Patrick others, when this was created and we heard about it, it was like, that, if, I'm just reiterating, that looks like a predetermined group. That you said it's going to include community voices and so forth. I'm trying to search for it. You tell me, where's the community? Where are the union members? Maybe it's there. Where are the union members? Because here's what I was going to write down. My recommendation would be that at least from here, from this department, that we have union representation, we have department head representation, we have citizen representation. We're appointed at the highest levels. Okay, so tell me how that's reflected in this. And if it's not, then it seems to me, well, our comments were months ago, we were asking questions, that seems established and does not reflect community. And I'm saying as a chair of a very important committee, that I think I'm hearing distress. When we're looking at these statistics, I want to make sure that there's a recommendation that maybe that get modified. Otherwise, it seems very, I don't know if you're going to get the same kind of trust. I'm just telling you I'm an influential citizen.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, if you can tell me, I want the question answered, but if I'm not seeing the trust, then this is where I'm going to come from. I'm going to come from my position as chair. And I'm going to hear from the rest of them, and I'm going to say, here's our recommendation. I'm going to talk to our county supervisor, because if we're going to make the change, we're looking at the stats. It is very disheartening when we look at these every day or every month. So I'm going to pause it. So let's let her answer the question and come to you back.
Okay,
So tell me where that fits in.
well, let me just, I think this is like distracting us, slide. I think we're getting too focused on who's on here instead of what the work. So,
I don't think so, because again, it's relevant because the cabinet members, as you said earlier, will be the focus point, that you will talk to the heads. And then you can't talk to everyone, but you'll talk to the heads. So if someone's saying someone should be on the cabinet, you're saying we're getting, that's not inclusive. Ideas are not inclusive.
can I?
You're not including ideas.
I didn't get to finish.
Well, Patrick, go ahead. You're
Okay.
okay.
So this captain is focused on the social determinants that create racism as a health crisis. What I understand the EEOAC focus on is employment, like Title VII. So am I correct? Do I not focus on employment?
Not on.
What do you focus on?
Not on. Recruitment,
That's employment.
recruitment, not necessarily. There's a lot of elements in recruitment.
But it ultimately is employment.
I mean, we're not going to debate what this department, I mean, this committee. There's a lot of elements in this community that people don't even get to the door to get the job, to have a voice. And so what I'm not hearing or seeing is that somebody mentioned an idea and you said, wait a minute, that's not what we want to talk about, but you posted it. So it is something we should be talking about.
Well,
How many, and I'm not finished. How many people on as department heads get to go to the cabinet? Because I'm reading from our director, I have asked deputy director, 2 of them, to join me at the cabinet meetings together. So how many people get to go?
what are you reading?
I'm reading the public email to our department from our director, who stated, I have asked Deputy Director of Eduardo Almenero, Division Manager Rosalie Ramirez to join me at the cabinet meetings. So again, I'm thinking it's like maybe 1 representative, but it could be 3, it could be 10. And so boss is asking, he doesn't see something. You said, wait a minute, we're focused on that and not this. The work, well, the work begins with the people because the people have a voice. Directors, like you eloquently said, a wonderful event. It's a farce. It's a farce. It's a cover up.
Well, I'm not sure.
Well, let's
Well, but I've been here for 24 years, and I'm telling you, the people that are embedded in those cabinets are part of the problem. That is clear. And the people in this room, some of them are part of the problem. They control investigations. They try to suppress investigations that prevent us from thriving. And you talk about health, it affects our health. So whether you can like grasp it, it is the problem.
What I'm trying to understand is, are you saying if you all had a seat on the DEI cabinet, that would solve?
There was not representatives to even listen to it on the onset. And that is offensive. That's offensive. Because before things get started, and you talk about inclusion, where does inclusion start? Does it start when we get established? Or does it start from the start?
Right. So.
Or did it
I
start in
can't say that.
2020?
I can't say that.
Exactly.
But what
Okay,
I'm,
so actually you can. You got one.
wait,
Well, let's let her respond.
no, I understand the question. So the DEI cabinet was established by county executive board of state supervisor. That is already set in place. There's, those department heads that represent, those departments that are represented, they're represented for a reason. So we don't have a big cabinet. It's a 23-member cabinet. You can't make decisions and you keep adding people. It becomes a little unmanageable. So it's gonna stay a 23-member cabinet. It doesn't mean that people don't get to participate or have voice in the work or in the decisions that are made. Those 8-term positions, people rotate out every 2 years. They could be any rank and file across the county. They just have to be appointed by the county and meet the criteria. That's how you get on.
So that's your room to bring in others.
Correct.
Which could include this committee. Okay.
Now, let me just say this, when you talk about external, this is an internal body. This is not external. Okay,
But your slides pointed out, you said it's going to involve community, you said it's going to have, you're looking at equities, you're looking at improvement. So these are all the stuff, everything you put, the reason we like your presentation. We may not necessarily agree with this implementation,
understand.
and then we're official committee and will officially respond, but hopefully we can come to some sort of reasonable agreement, because I mean, these are, union representatives and citizens and other people appointed that, there have been people who resigned from this committee because of inaction and the idea that some of them had cuss words and said, well, if we're not gonna have a voice and we're making recommendations, we're not going to rubber stamp these stats. And you're so we're happy you all are here, because you're the DEI representatives, but hopefully we can see some change. So I say that to say, that, what you mentioned resonates. But what I'm hoping that we may be able to hear out of that, because we're duly appointed people that give you strong recommendations. There's a reason we're appointed, that hopefully you may be able to say that there may be some adaptation, or maybe within the 8 persons that will be able to incorporate some people here, because we do represent the citizen, we do represent department heads, we do represent staff. So, that was something we wrote 3 or 4 months ago. So, that will help. It's not going to solve everything, but according to what Patrick Hunter was saying, you're going to have some informed people giving informed feedback, because we're studying something. We're studying statistics, and I see that there's overlap. So I would strongly encourage as the chair, that we would consider, we're verbally giving you a recommendation, but that you would consider making sure that there's some, and I see 3 groups here. That's why I pointed out. You have union, you have citizen, you have administration. There'd be some, there's citizen
Yeah.
representation.
I would like to add, in response a little bit. So I fall into the right-hand category. I'm one of the caucus representatives. I represent the LGBTQ caucus. And then we also have the African American caucus representative on the cabinet. So.
That's you.
No,
I'm not a caucus.
What do you?
Just, with the public defender.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
got it. Okay, sorry.
but I guess I'm also a union member. I'm also an employee and I also live in Sacramento County.
Okay.
So I just don't want anybody to miss the fact that I represent those groups as well, right? Not just LGBT. So when I speak at the cabinet meetings, I speak because I'm lesbian and I live in Sacramento County. And, you know, I work for the department and I do see, I don't want anybody to misconstrue the fact that I do see issues that need to be fixed in the county for sure. But I also just wanted to say that, you know, we're not, also not operating in a vacuum. We're representative of many things. And I would say that that's probably the same case for most of the people. But for myself, I just don't want to miss the fact that citizens and union members are represented. We just don't have that specific title.
So, but do you look at the workforce statistics from the department? Do you get the same stats we get?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
The same one? Yes.
Well, and that's where I want to share with you, that's not an activity that the DEI cabinet does. So that should be a responsibility of every department head to look at their workforce statistics or whomever it's those two. But what I
It is.
but what I want to say is that I think there's opportunity for us to work together. We don't have to be focused on the same thing, because I don't think we get any list that way. If you all are focused on workforce statistics, promotion, career advancement, and statistical information and all of those things, that could help inform some of the things that we look at from a system standpoint. We need that. But we can't go and focus on the same things you are doing. That's the thing.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm going to yield to you just a second. What I'm saying is, I'll reiterate it again. You're saying we look at this. So, and you're looking at the same issues. If we do not have a representative that's examining the workforce development statistics, which informs where you can have that voice. If you're not, if you're saying that we could be helping each other, how do you accomplish that? So what committee? Because we're putting it work.
Why can't you invite me and we invite you and we look at it that way? Does it have to be that? We have to be on the same committee?
No, what I am saying, I am saying that if we are looking at this, in what I'm hearing from this committee, I'm gonna turn it over to Patrick. Did you have comments? No. Did you? Okay, I'm saying that, what I'm saying is that at that point in time, then there should be some representative. You're saying this is representing community and we're looking at workforce, that somebody from this committee should be represented in one of those. That's how we're gonna have a voice. You're welcome to come to our meetings, but we're saying that we have strong, before you got here, we had strong deference with how that was put together. Okay, so what we're saying is what I'm saying as the chair, I think what I'm asking, given what you've presented, is a reasonable request, because we're looking at real stuff that you're not looking at in the same perspective, that you need that informed voice. So that's what I'm asking. We turn over to Patrick.
Yeah, it's just, it is a bit offensive that we're not going to correlate work we do here with the correlation of work you do there, being the simple fact that you brought up issues that result in racism. So being a elected or appointed union member who speak on behalf of the employees, which is work related,
Mhm.
I think is very imperative and important to include and not just dismiss and say, why do we have to be on the same committee? Why not? And those things can be changed. Because all it takes is the board of supervisors to say, yeah, let's adopt something. Because if it's new, it's fairly new, because racism didn't just start 4 years ago.
No.
So it's fairly new, in my opinion. Okay, so I don't believe in that this is just what it is. Because, yeah, we have to move forward. But when people say, oh, this is what it is, because I've heard those stories before, it's always gonna be like that, Patrick. It's always gonna be like that. Why are you fighting? Why are you not the team player? All that kind of stuff. And it's from the people that are embedded in your cabinet. So we should maybe have some other voices that are not intimidated. Because the worst they can do to me is fire. And so many people have left because fear of intimidation. They're not gonna do your exit interview because Sacramento County, they have far-reaching tentacles to other departments. So when they go to the state, people know. And HR people call and people send messages out to those different counties and states. So when people leave, they leave, but they do tell the union why they're leaving. They do that.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
They do that. I got hundreds of stories.
So you've got a concern about putting new medicine into old.
No, I have a concern about being authentic, being transparent. I have a very serious concern. And I don't believe the leadership of Sacramento County is. And I don't believe it.
We're kind of stuck with it, that the
Look,
leadership.
it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right.
No, I ain't
Somebody died for you to sit there, me to sit here, for us to have this conversation. Okay, so it doesn't bother me that, oh, it's always like this, and this, but somebody died for us to just have this conversation with different faces, different demographics,
right.
so we can move forward. But I'm not gonna buy, oh, it's just like this, and why you can be over there and you can be over there. No, let's be in the same room. Let's just be in the same room at times. And I'm not talking about me being in the room.
Yeah.
I'm talking about representatives.
Well, I would like to know how, is there, until you, when you can do, write your request or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking you informally, but I mean, this is, it's in the record. This is what, he said 18 months, we've been waiting for a long time. And all I'm trying to say is what we're asking is we think, here's the art of negotiation. There's your wish list and the simple ones, I'm sure you know it. There's your wish list. There's a thing you can live with, and then there's a must have. Okay. We're at a position where, we think it could fit in any of those categories. This is a more than reasonable request that we're asking, because we've been waiting for you to come,
Okay.
not before you were hired, before you were.
Been waiting on this position.
Yes, and we were asking, and now, so all I'm trying to say is, I hope what we're not gonna leave this and say, well, you could be on this committee, and you could be on that one. What we're telling you, or not telling you, we're expressing
Yeah.
that we're saying as a committee that has duly appointed strong preference. This is, it can fit in any of those categories, but we really believe it's a must have. We hope you would agree that it's something you can live with. And that you would take that recommendation to, you're the head, I guess. I don't know if there's anybody else. Who do you respond to?
I report to Justice Change, he is part of the.
So, I don't know who that is, but I'm just saying, I think what we're saying is more than reasonable. And we're coming with some we look at this monthly. And we're trying, and this committee has been highly frustrated with the county.
I want to know how.
We're telling you.
No, what you're telling me is, the only way I can help you is if y'all, if somebody is appointed to the DEI.
No,
That's what I'm hearing.
no, we're saying, no, we're saying,
Champion.
well, we're champion that you would agree, because when someone from this committee is on one of the appointed, then you're going to hear an informed voice. We're going to be more informed than probably equally or more informed about perspectives that need to be integrated in that than probably many of the folks that you have appointed in there. because this is what we're looking
So can I just say this?
at, and then we'll work it in. Working.
If it happens or if it doesn't happen, I still want to know how can I, or the officers we got to champion the work they do.
We recognize one.
In regards to what I'm hearing from Martin, how difficult is it to add like one EEOAC, like representative to that? So instead of 23, it's 24, and we can feel like maybe there's a representative coming from this group, being able to hear what's happening in DEI and taking that information back and forth. So like, is that something difficult to take place, just to add that one person?
It would not be so that would be a tiebreaker. The 23 is so we have a tiebreaker in terms of voting. So there's gonna be a 23 person, cabinet. What could happen is that when the 2-year term ends for someone, that another employee rotates on, and one of those employees could be someone, into the committee.
My term's almost done.
I think we can have open. So,
It's a good explanation. Yeah, it was. So anybody from this committee can apply for those terms.
can be appointed.
Be appointed.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. Let's get, this is an important discussion. Let's try, if you all are able, we have to maintain a forum when it's split and vote on. Could you all hang on till 5:15? This worthy enough discussion. This is probably one of the best ones we've had. Maybe we need to end. Okay, let's go to 5:15, 10 minutes. Okay, are you all okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, yes, all right. Let me make sure. Any other?
Well, I say no, then I'm gonna go back to the.
No, I was not saying, I think we all came to a consensus. I want to make sure that. Okay, I want to, yeah, voice here. Okay, all right. I want to recognize, Monica, thank you, as your first time member chiming in. I think that is a reasonable, position. Especially if there's a appointment, so perhaps the recommendation would be, because that was probably one of the best answers. Because we'll keep pressing it, because we've been doing this longer than you have been. Okay, and it's not, none of this is offensive. We're just saying that I've been here like 4 years almost now, 2 or 3 years as chair. I can't remember which one, but there's been some pretty heavy frustration from people. So we're not going to change on that. We would like that somebody from this committee be appointed when one of the terms come up from the EEOAC. That would be, we're not going to try to bogart and force, but when that comes up, so that would be the thing we could live with in the middle of our negotiation. I think that is a reasonable request.
So what are the steps that we need to take to get appointed for?
Work for your department head.
See, and that,
Well, we could disappoint, we could just say from your committee that we would like somebody from the DEOAC. We can determine here who will come from this body. We could make that happen. We just need to have representation from somebody who knows what's going on here.
And then the county that would make those ones.
Say, we would please choose somebody from this committee, DEOAC, and we will establish that.
To be an employee of the county.
Yeah,
This is the internal body.
yeah, they could be in the county, whatever those rules are. But we have people who are formed up to represent all of us.
Now, I'm not giving an answer, I'm just saying, based on how the body is set up.
Yeah.
The DEI has set up.
Yeah.
When positions rotate, those 2-year terms are up,
Mhm.
those seats are open. So, someone could be appointed.
Well, the bylaws say that they're recommended by the department chair
Correct.
and they're approved.
Even if it was a committee member that's an employee, some work the same.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And some of this will work with both. Let's,
my hand was up.
I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
So based on your bylaws, it's still not inclusive if someone has to go through a department head who is already on your committee, and it's not inclusive because the department heads tend to, in my experience, pick the people that's going to promote the department's mission, not necessarily the mission. And so, again, these are your bylaws.
Yeah.
And again, I think Ross brought up some valid points, and I think our committee will put it in writing and not held like to, is this what you want? And this what, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. So what we will do is probably work on our recommendation thoroughly and present it. So we'll have the recommendation in writing. We'll have it. Now, whether you do it or not, that's on the department. But I will definitely say it's not inclusive. If we have to go through somebody, if the people, the employees, because you said internal, the employees, our employees' voice, official voice, not just the voice, official voice, have to go through somebody who are part of the problem. And I'll say it to the person's face. I'll say it, I'll put it in writing. They put it in writing. They don't like people who don't agree with them. So again, bylaws are one thing and inclusive is another.
Well, I want to share.
Your bylaws do not include inclusive. It's true inclusive. And we'll put that in writing too.
You can, that's okay.
Yeah,
But I just want
I'm
to
not
share.
trying to offend you because you weren't here, but like I said, it's been 18 months or almost 2 months
Yeah.
where our help, we're suppressing the emails or either Ms. Edwards or Mr. Villanueva, who don't want this committee to exist, by the way.
This is good for us.
He doesn't want this committee to exist, by the way, because he's told our executive director, he would want to do away with this committee. So the EEOAC. So that's something that came from him. Okay, and Ms. Edwards didn't want to show up because we would have said this, what we said today, back then. And so when they made these decisions, at least they would have known. And so to me, that's been disingenuous. That's all. I've said that multiple times.
I just want to share also, it's not just those departments that you see on. So if someone from waste management recommended an employee who had been focused on DEI work or has a passion for the work, has some experience analyzing data, they may also be appointed to DEI cabinet. So it's not just those departments, from those employees for those 2-year terms. They don't have to necessarily be out of those departments. But we started those departments because those are the service delivery public facing departments. So I just wanted to make sure. And then I also work with department heads that are not on this cabinet. I work with waste management, with DEI interventions. That's how the whole workplace microaggressions training was born, out of my consultative work with them. So it's not just exclusive to departments that you saw listed there.
So let's do this. I'm going to start with you all as our guests. Make sure you have give you the opportunity for any closing comments. We'll have 4 minutes. You're our guest. Let's hear from you first.
Alexander.
I just wanted to thank you for having me today. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed hearing everybody's conversation surrounding this, and hopefully we can kind of set the goal. I hope we can figure out a way to do that. But I appreciate the opportunity.
I do also. Giving us a space to speak. Thank you. It's informative. We don't interact with this group. I think that the information and ideas and knowledge is eye-opening for me. I appreciate that personally.
And for me, I hope that I can get to learn more about the work that you all are doing, initiatives that you are recommending, so that if there's a way that I can help, we can help support that beyond this conversation, but just to help support and champion work, because the vision is that every department in the county is doing, they don't have to be a member of the DEI Academy Students First. I hope they're not. I hope at every level, somebody is focused on whose voice is not in the room. Who haven't we considered, what implications does this have or impact does this have on our employees? That's how we want everybody to be thinking. And so they don't have to be on a committee or on a commission to do that. We want to empower everyone that can do that work. So I hope that there's opportunity for us to work together.
Thank you for coming. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
What I'm hoping, and I appreciate the different comments here, is that, from an analysis standpoint, structural standpoint, I hope I hope I'm hearing, but I also, maybe you don't have the power to do so, those types of things, but I mean, I'm a very citizen, appointee, engineer, strategic-minded person. These recommendations have not come from, we just randomly put these together. This has come from several years of discussion. So if we're about transformation, moving the biggest boulders up the hill, that's through all task. I hope you personally consider what we're saying and make some adjustments, maybe something that we can live with. Because these statistics that we're looking at, it is a crisis. It's dismal. And we have some information that we do on a monthly basis of the work that we do that can help be a voice. It says DEI inclusivity and inclusion. I can tell you from a very established committee that gets resistance, that this committee needs to have the voice, because there's many prominent citizens that would say to have with this committee because it's some kind of bit of a rubber stamp. And so we've been waiting for you. And so I hope you're highly incorporated the city to this big structure. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, appreciate it. Well done, everybody. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, okay, I forgot all that statistic. Oh, okay.